Marais' Executioner is quite possibly the best weapon in Elden Ring because with the right build around it, you can go around one-shotting pretty much everybody, because with just one simple use of the Ash of War, you'll be doing tens of thousands of damage. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, let me show you the build so you can do this for yourself. So yes guys, welcome back to another video on this channel where today we are going to go through the Marais' Executioner, which was voted by you guys as the next build to cover, and don't worry, I will be going through that list and covering the others. But as I say, Marais' Executioner won that poll, so we're doing that one today, and I can't lie, it's super fun. So I'm just going to get on with telling you the information you need to know. Like, first of all, the location of this weapon, and it is dropped by a mini boss, being Elmer, who is the Briar that's located in the Shaded Castle. So just traverse through Shaded Castle and you'll come to his arena, and once you defeat this boss, you will then get the Marais' Executioner sword for yourself. But to fully unlock the full one-shotting potential of this build, we are going to be utilizing a whole bunch of buffing items. But don't worry, I know not everybody is keen on doing like a 10-hour buffing routine before going into every boss fight, so I will show you sort of like the build with and without these buffs. But if you want to make sure that you're one-shotting pretty much everybody in this game, we are going to have to make use of the various exaltations, like the Lord of Blood's exaltation, Kindred of Rot's exaltation, and of course the Aged One's exaltation from the DLC, because when we proc the respective status effects, each one of those talismans will give us 20% extra damage output for 30 seconds, but we can also push that further by using the various helmets that also grant this boost in the White Mask, Mushroom Crown, and Black Dumpling Helm. And then specifically for Poison and Madness, you can also get the Poisoned Hand and the Madding Hand from the DLC as well, and I'm just going to obviously show you all of the locations for these particular items. Lords of Blood's exaltation again is super simple. All you got to do is go into the sewers in Lyondell and go through the catacomb there, beating the boss residing in this catacomb, and you'll be granted with the Lords of Blood's exaltation. The Kindred of Rot's exaltation is located in the Seethe Water Cave, which again, you do need to defeat the boss at the end of this dungeon, being 2 Kindred Rot enemies. And the Aged One's exaltation is dropped again in the DLC, more specifically in the Abyssal Woods, by one particular aging untouchable. It is located around here, kind of next to the church, and there is a Stake of Marika right next to him, so if you come here and you see the Stake of Marika, you know it's the right one. But you do need to parry him to then make him vulnerable, and then you can just attack him in any which way afterwards. But once you defeat this aging untouchable, you will then be granted with the Aged One's exaltation. Then for the helmets, the White Mask is located in Mogwin Palace. More specifically, if you go to the far end of the Blood Lake where all of the birds are located, the White Mask invader that invades here is the one that will drop the mask, so kill them and you'll get it. The Black Dumpling is dropped by any of the first age Albinurics. The best farm for this is actually to come to the Volcano Manor, and more specifically the Guest Hall Site of Grace, where there's going to be about 5 or 6 of these guys in and around this area. Just know that this helmet can be tricky to get because it does have a 0.5% drop rate. Yes, that's pretty low, so make sure that you obviously kill all of the Albinurics whilst using item discovery boosters like the Silver Pickle Foul Foot or the Silver Horns from the DLC, and of course the Silver Scarab Talisman to give you the best odds possible. But this might be the thing that takes the longest to obtain in your game because it is down to purely luck. But then the Mushroom Crown is actually a hell of a lot easier to get because all you need to do is traverse to the Scarlet Rot Lake as if you're heading towards the Astel boss fight. If you actually hang left and go to the back left of this lake past the Dragonkin Soldier, there is going to be a little structure where on top of one of the pillars inside that broken down structure is going to be the Mushroom Crown. You just have to go around the backside and jump onto the pillar that way. And then the Poisoned Hand and Madding Hand are both in the DLC. Poisoned Hand is inside Bellarat, where you need to pick up the key first of all, which is on this sort of like rooftop. If you drop down into this segment, you can then pick up the key that is on the body right here, and then go down the well that is next to the Bellarat Tower Settlement Site of Grace. Open the door with that particular key and literally run around the entire sort of like lake area of this, where again at the back the Poisoned Hand is going to be on the floor ready for you to pick up, and the Madding Hand is actually on the way to the Aged One's exaltation. There will be an NPC which you need to kill on the way to the church, and again after killing the NPC there, you will then get the Madding Hand. And the reason why we're getting all of these items is because we're going to use those status effects to give us an ungodly amount of percentage based buffs, which yes, does take time to apply, but as you're seeing with the footage in the background, most of the time you will have about 10 to 15 seconds to run up to the boss, use the full Ash of War that's fully charged, and unleash it to do an ungodly amount of damage. This will one-shot most bosses, granted that you get the right RNG with some bosses, and the footage that you're seeing this particular damage being dealt in is in New Game Plus 2, so of course bear that in mind, because maybe in New Game Plus 7 you're not going to quite one-shot, but you'll definitely be two-shotting them still. Now I'm just going to quickly go over the buffing routine for those of you that may not know how to do it, or the best way to do it. So before you even start, make sure you equip all of the exaltation talismans on your character, and put on the white mask first, as we're going to be proccing bleed first. Also make sure that you've got yourself a weapon with seppuku on it, as that will be the thing that will be causing the blood loss before we enter the fight, as well as picking up Golden Vow and Howl of Shibriri as buffs to use during the sequence too, as well as making sure that you've got some raw meat to cause poison on you, or you can also use the poison bottles from the DLC, as the Ash of War of that will also instantly proc poison on you. And then finally also make sure that you've got Golden Vow and Howl of Shibriri on as your buffs, as we're going to be using that during the sequence too. So to start it off, first of all, make sure that you're wearing the white mask and use Golden Vow, as that will last the entire time of the fight. I then choose to throw down a Frenzy Stone, as that will help with gradual build up of madness, so whenever I do use Howl of Shibriri, I will then proc it with just one use, before then drinking a blue flask and then hitting myself with seppuku to proc those bleed procs as our first buff in this sequence, before then swapping into the Madness Hand and also the Black Dumpling Helm, so there is going to be a lot of menu swapping here, to then use the Howl of Shibriri with both of those equipped, again giving us our second status proc, before then drinking red and blue again, and also our Wonderphysick, before then switching into the Poison Hand and also the Mushroom Crown, before then eating the raw meat to instantly proc poison on ourselves. And then you can also use the boluses to again cure the poison as you're running up to the enemies. Poison procs at the end can be used whilst walking, so you can start heading towards the boss as you're putting on your last buff, and obviously using the boluses too. But once you have procced all of those effects on, you can then hot swap all of your talismans into these talismans that I'm now throwing up on screen, and this is also the final build with all of the stats and also the Wonderphysick combination involved. But if you do not want to be one-shotting anybody, you can just run what I am showing on screen now and still be doing upwards of 10,000 plus damage super easily, because as you can see with the stats, we are delving into strength more so to hit the final soft cap of 80 when we're two-handing the weapons, because again, for those of you that don't know, when you two-hand a weapon like a greatsword, you do get a 50% strength buff to your character, before then putting 33 faith in the build to run Howl of Shibriri and Golden Vow as our buffs, and then 36 arcane to get the best AR out of the weapon. We then delve heavily into multi-hit boosting items like Billison's prosthesis and the Rotten Winged Insignia, and also the Thorny Crag tier in the Wonderphysick, before then using the Shard of Alexander and also Godfrey's Icon, because again, this Ash of War is chargeable, so then we'll be getting the plus 15% extra boosted damage whenever we do that with this Ash of War. And then I've also put the Blood Sucking Crag tier in the Wonderphysick to again give us the best damage possible. However, if you want to play a little bit more safe, especially in the later New Game Pluses, feel free to put the Magic Shroud in Crag tier in here, because this weapon does deal magic damage, and we're already hitting the soft caps with strength. You'll be getting a better return if you put the Magic Shroud in Crag tier in there. But as I say, whether you're going to be using that setup at the beginning or not, this weapon will be destroying everybody, because Eocade's Dancing Blade, aka the Ash of War on this weapon, is just nuts. But even at base value, it's a great sword, so in your later New Game Pluses, you can still make use of the charged heavies and maybe break enemies' stances to then use the full Ash of War as like a punishing move, meaning that you've got perfect versatility against those faster moving enemies in the DLC, as well as punishing the slower ones in the base game, doing again outright ridiculous damage numbers, having an absolute blast watching bosses disappear in seconds. So it's quite clear how this weapon can easily become one of the best weapons in the entire game, as the damage is transferable against every single boss, as we're not relying on status procs or anything like that with the actual damage from the weapon itself. But I want to know from you guys, would you agree that this weapon is possibly the best weapon in all of Elden Ring? Obviously let me know in the comments down below, but obviously if you haven't used this weapon before, I highly suggest that you go and do so, and if you do end up using it, try and see just how many bosses or enemies you can one-shot with this thing, and maybe try it in those later new game pluses, because I know a lot of you are much more skilled than I am, and can probably pull off counter attacks or get some extra damage some way somehow by aiming for the head on certain enemies and things like that. So like I say, let me know how you get on if you do happen to use it. But if you have enjoyed this video or if it's helped you out in any way, I hope you don't mind me asking you just to leave a cheeky like rating on it, as it genuinely does help out the channel and these videos tremendously. We obviously have Night Rain just around the corner. They actually just did an official trailer yesterday at the time of recording this voiceover, so that is obviously fastly approaching, and we're going to be doing all kinds of content for that, as well as many more builds like this. So if you want to stay up to date with all of the content around Elden Ring, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, because we're also going to be live streaming Night Rain when that officially drops. But other than that, like I say, go and enjoy this build. Let me know how you get on if you do happen to use it. But for now, that's everything from me, so I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you again so much for watching this video, and I guess I'll catch you in the next one of whatever it is that we make. Bye bye.